Are you ready?
Welcome to this session of UTC, our utilization training camp taking place at Jamshedpur, where I reside in India. And it was a wonderful gathering, but today people are waiting, mostly here, and most of them are online who could not join physically. So, Dada, you can start your program. So, now over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rameshji, for inviting me to Rajendraji, for inviting me to speak at your gathering today. I hope you can all understand. It's a little bit early here. It's about 6:30 in the morning, but we'll make this work. Okay, so as was stated, I want to talk about why we need Prout. But first, I want to ask those in attendance, why do you think we need Prout? Does anybody wish to answer the question? I would like to request from the attendees. Would you like to tell me why you think we need Prout?
Uh, Dada, namaskar. I think that there is no balance in the society about economically. There is no any balance. Some are very rich and some are very poor, and many types of corruptions, dogmas are there. And our Baba given many solution. Uh, we need in these days, Prout is a solution for that problem. Thank you, Dada.
Very good. Thank you. Namaskar. Anybody else like to say something? There's a chat. Somebody posted in the chat. Let's see if I can find that. Oh, the technology. There we go. Prout is a panacea for all the problems, economic, social, and cultural. Okay. Why do we need Prout? God-centered philosophy. Good. You know, we're all Proutists. I don't think there's a wrong answer, but it's nice to hear what people think. No other comment? Okay.
Okay, I want to put up one question. Hello, sir.
Well, I'm asking the question now. You can ask question later.
No, it's not about the question of the concept. It's
Oh,
about, I want to know something that I have been attending several classes on Proud before also. I totally agree with the concept and idea. I am not that intellectual. I understand very basic thing that what we Prout is trying to achieve is to be a practical capitalist, right? To secure few things, basic life things for people, and generate employment and help them grow. And so the economic condition will be better. That's what is my understanding. Simple
yes,
way, sir.
yes.
But why and how can we do it practically? I haven't attended a single class where they give a real life example of achieving it by becoming an entrepreneur, or how to involve more people in the business or something like that.
Well, let me finish my talk and then maybe it'll become a little clearer and we can discuss that afterwards.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Prout advocates an economic democracy where decision-making power for the economic future of a community is given to its inhabitants. Very good. So I'll tell you a story. In 1971, I was initiated, and somehow, by Baba's grace, I was able to go to India in December 1971. And those of you who may be familiar with the history of Anandamarga, that was a very tumultuous time in our organization. A lot of things were happening. So when I first went to India, my first visit ever to India, and I went to New Delhi, and my first stop was a Prout office in New Delhi. And I already was interested in Prout. So I met one Dada there, and I asked him, I said, how do the Margis here like Prout? So he told me a story. He said one day he was sitting with the Margis, Proutis, and he asked everybody, who here in the group supports Prout? Everybody raised their hand. Then he asked the next question, who here can tell me what is Prout? Nobody raised their hand. So he said, how can you support Prout if you don't know what is Prout? So one person said, well, Baba gave Prout, so it must be good. Well, I'm sorry to say that's not enough. We need to know what is Prout, because if we support Prout only because Baba gave it, Prout becomes another dogma. Even Baba said, I heard this one time. I'll tell you another story. This was 1979, and I had a chance to visit. It was Calcutta then. Baba was in Calcutta. And I had a chance to attend a meeting. And Baba was talking about, I have to edit this a little bit because some of the things Baba said some of these things can't be said publicly so much. Baba was talking about one religious leader of the past. And Baba said this person gave many good ideas, but he made one mistake. And that mistake was he said, God said this. Baba said, if this person had said, I said that, then there would have been no dogma that had come from that teaching. So Baba said then, we should not go around saying, Baba said, Baba said, Baba said. We should explain and give rational explanation why the ideas that Baba gave are good ideas. But to say it's good because Baba said it makes another dogma. And we don't want to create dogma out of Prout. So we have to start thinking. And I know it's difficult. We all know Baba gave the words so many things about Prout. But the basic thing that Baba gave about Prout, it's really just a skeleton. It's not the whole of Prout. Baba didn't give us everything. He just gave us the basic building blocks, the very basic principles of Prout. And he gave us a little bit of guidance about where to go with it. But it really was ours. Baba gave Prout to us, and it's up to us to decide where it's going to go. I'll tell you another experience. As I said, I was initiated in 1971. My very first experience with Ananda Marga, I went to a local retreat in Philadelphia, and somebody was giving a talk about Jama and Niyama. And I thought, oh, this is a really good idea. They got to the principle of aparigraha, and I almost completely could not believe it. When I heard about aparigraha, I said to myself, this is amazing. If everybody follows aparigraha, this is the end of capitalism. Everything is just in the little ideas. So one of the things that Baba did in his life is he showed us by example. And a lot of times it's hard to understand because Baba's examples were very tough to follow. But Baba showed that if you want to do something good, you have to be ready to make sacrifices. Look at Baba. Baba was such a great person in our society. What to speak of our personal relationship with Baba? Just what Baba gave to the society is so amazing. And in spite of that, Baba was harassed, persecuted, tortured, put into jail, so many terrible things. Baba stuck to his principles. Baba stuck to his ideology. Baba wouldn't give up an inch. Baba wants us to follow that. I'll tell you another story. Hope you don't mind. So when I was in India in 1971, and first time I got to see Baba, they wouldn't actually, we weren't allowed to go to darshan without having personal contact. So I had personal contact with Baba, and I won't tell the whole story here, but one specific thing Baba asked me. He said, "Little boy, what do you want to do in this life?" And I said to Baba, "I want to do service. I want to help people." The Baba said, "Do you have the moral courage to do this?" I said, "Yes, Baba." Now that comment from Baba about having moral courage to do service really intrigued me and made me, and I thought about it for many, many years. Maybe it took me 20, 30 years to figure out what that meant. What it really means is that even though you do good things, you may not get the good things that you do may not be appreciated. Some people may fight back. Some people will torture you, harass you, do so many things. But you have to have moral courage to continue to do the things that you know are right. Prout offers so many great things to society, but at the same time, it's threatens. It's threatening some people, and so Baba had to take the backlash from those people who felt the threat from Prout. I'll move forward a little bit. 1979. Again, I found myself in India. And by Baba's grace, I had a chance to go on field walk with Baba in 1979. It was December. What day is today? 18th? Almost the same day as today. Maybe give or take a few days. Middle of December, 1979. So we were walking in a park in Calcutta, and the air was really bad that day. A lot of bad smells in the air and fog and difficult. So Baba's walking, and then Baba stopped, and he did his, like smelled the air, which was not nasty. And Baba said, "Smog. Smoke plus fog equals smog." Okay, because I was being bothered by this. I didn't like the air. Then Baba went on to talk about environment. Baba explained what I can't remember all the things, but Baba explained that there are so many rivers and large bodies of water all around the world, and they've all been polluted. Baba was really angry. He started naming all these great rivers all around, even the Mediterranean Sea, so many places. And Baba explained each one of them is polluted. And every time he explained about a different place, a different body of water, Baba got angry. He was really getting upset. And I was getting upset. And I'm standing there walking next to Baba, and Baba is talking like this. And I was getting very disturbed by Baba's agitation about climate, basically climate destruction basically by industry, unfettered, uncontrolled growth of industry, creating pollution and destroying our environment. Baba was really upset. And I was really amazed because I never heard Baba talk about this. So Baba was going on and on about all these terrible things going on. And Baba paused for a moment. Now, before I say the next thing, I'll just give some background. You know, when you go on field walk with Baba, we're instructed that we're not supposed to ask Baba questions. When you go on field walk, Baba does the talking, and if he asks you a question, you answer, but you don't ask anything. But I was so agitated, and Baba had stopped for a moment. I just blurted out. I said, "Baba, how can we stop the pollution?" Baba looked at me and said, the entire socioeconomic structure has to be changed. Wow. I was really amazed. When we got back to Baba's house, I asked the daughters there, I said, what does Baba mean by the entire socioeconomic structure has to be changed? Oh, that means, they said, that means Prout. And it took me many years again to understand what Baba meant by that. What I understand it means is that Baba didn't give Prout to fix capitalism. That is, capitalism has so many defects. Pollution of the environment is just one of the defects of capitalism. Baba didn't tell us to go in and fix the problem. Baba said the entire structure has to be changed. That is, maybe by making a few tweaks here and there, you can make capitalism a little less objectionable. In fact, here in the United States, I keep telling people, I said, the only thing that's keeping capitalism from collapsing in the United States is the application of socialist ideas in the economic and social level. But it's not fixing capitalism, it's just making it a little less onerous. But it's not, you can't really fix the defects of capitalism. And that people suffer, quite rightly, a lot of several of the comments already made. People suffer from the defects of capitalism. And you can agitate, you can protest, you can have movements to try to fix those problems. But they won't really be fixed as long as there's a capitalist system, because the system has certain basic principles of its own built into it, and you can't fix those things without changing the entire structure, as Baba said. So let me move on a little bit. 1980, Baba gave Samaj concept, the idea of Samaj movements. It was the first idea we had of socioeconomic units based on cultural affinity. Because Baba had talked about economic units before, but this whole idea of cultural affinity in an economic unit was a really new idea. And actually, I was in India at the time, and Baba said one day, he told the head of Prout, the SG, he said, I want map of the world, and I want all the Samajas drawn on the map, the whole world. So then he came and he got a map of the world and he put it, in his office, and he put it down on the floor, and I happened to be there, and he says, "Look, hey, let's start drawing Samajas." So we started giving whatever information we had. We talked to various people from different sectors and tried to give Baba some idea of what Samaj maps we thought were good. Some of the Samajas were approved. Many of the Samajas were not approved. But one of the things Baba said is that those Samaj units should never be based on religious or racial concepts. So it had to be very much a cultural issue. So Baba was teaching us many ideas back then about how to develop, but it still takes a lot of time. You have to really, especially with Samaj, you have to really become part of the community and understand the social, economic, and cultural issues that not only unite different communities, that also divide different communities. Because Prout has to create unity in a community if it's going to have any effect to be beneficial. So let's get back to the topic. Why do we need Prout? Well, as some of the comments were made, were very good. But part of the reason we need Prout is because of the failure of the existing socioeconomic systems, the failure of capitalism. What was the purpose of capitalism? Capitalism was originally given to end poverty, because before capitalism, there was more of an aristocracy, and if you were born into money, you were wealthy, and if you weren't born into it, you were poor, and there was no chance for anybody who was poor, living in poverty, to get out of poverty. Capitalism gave people, and actually capitalism originally, when it was first given, was more of an economic democracy. Capitalism started with small businesses and allowed people who didn't necessarily have power, wealth, money, name, and fame, allowed even ordinary people to accumulate money through small business enterprises. But the problem with capitalism, as it evolved over the years, is it got dominated by big business. In fact, some of the businesses got so big, they're bigger than the government. And capitalism can't work without regulation. And the businesses got so big that they were able to influence the government, and then it diminished the government's ability to regulate capitalism. So capitalism became just a wild free-for-all, everybody running after the big money. But in the end, capitalism failed to end poverty because capitalism requires poverty. Poverty is actually a product of capitalism. They even teach in economics courses in the big universities here in the United States, probably in India too, that for capitalism to survive, for the economy to grow in a capitalist environment, there has to be a mobile workforce. What's a mobile workforce? It means people who are unemployed. Because if you start a new business, how are you going to hire people if everybody's employed? If there's 100% employment, there's nobody you can hire. So how do you grow the economy if there's not an unemployed a part of the workforce is unemployed? And what capitalism fails to do is to provide for how that mobile workforce is unemployed. How is that mobile workforce going to survive if your survival depends on work? And that's the capitalist model. In the capitalist model, for example, in Prout says that the basic necessities of life should be guaranteed. In capitalism, basic necessities of life are provided based on your work. If you have work, you get income, and based on your income, you'll buy your things that you need to survive. But if your income is below subsistence level, or if you're unemployed, where do you go? The work model doesn't work. So capitalism failed to end poverty. Communism recognized that the exploitation in capitalism. So communism proposed to end exploitation. Basically, Marx said that exploitation is based on ownership of the means of production. That is, if you have to own the means of production in order to exploit the masses. So if the workers themselves own the means of production, you couldn't have exploitation. Well, it was a defective theory because it was based on a defective understanding of human psychology. And so
Okay, I found this on the web because it was based on a defective understanding of human psychology. Check it out.
My technology here is trying to answer my questions. So communism tried to end the exploitation, but just created a new form of exploitation. So communism couldn't end the exploitation. Capitalism couldn't end poverty. So Baba gives Prout. How do we solve these problems in Prout? First of all, in Prout, poverty will be ended by Constitution. In the Constitution, it will be stated that every human being has the right to the basic necessities of life. food, clothing, education, medicine, and shelter. So we're basically ending the capitalist model of work-based income as a requirement for your survival, that your survival is guaranteed by the Constitution. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to give people handouts, but it means that the economy has to be structured in such a way that your survival, the income that you need for survival will be guaranteed by the structure of the economy. And in more detail, Baba explained that that's where we have cooperatives, and people will be members of cooperatives, and their basic income will come as a member of the cooperative. And then other work that people will do will give them additional income. So, Prout, in fact, in the early stages, the early days of Prout, some people would thought that Prout advocated that people should live only according to the minimum standard of living. That's not true at all. Prout advocates, that abundance, that we should have more and more. In fact, it's one of the principles of Prout that the rising standard of living is a determination of the health of the economy. So the standard of living should always be rising, and people should always have a chance to live better. But in the Proutist system, there's a floor. That is, there's a basic condition below which nobody will be allowed to fall. That means poverty will be eliminated by Constitution. And of course, Bob, it's one of the principles of Prout that the way Prout is established will change according to the differences in time, place, and person. In different countries, different eras, with different people, that application will be different. And so Proutists have to understand what the changes are, what the differences are in that time, place, and person. Time meaning minimum necessities of life today are not going to be the same minimum necessities of life 100 years from now. In time, those requirements change. And the changes are different in different places. Minimum requirements in India are different than the minimum requirements in Canada, partly due to climate. I mean, some basic things are required, but that are the same. Everybody has to eat, but the diet in a cold climate is not the same as diet in a hot climate. So you can't make one rule for everybody. But the plan is, the point is that Prout provides for that. So how does Prout get rid of exploitation? That's the role of the Sadvipras. And Baba made Sadvipras a very central part of the whole Prout program. And we don't talk about it enough, I don't think, that you may have the best economic system. You may have the best planning. You may have the best ideas. You might have the best technologies, but if you don't have good people to manage it, it all falls apart. Baba even once said that technology should never be put in the hands of people who don't follow Jama and Niyama. That scientists should all be following Jama and Niyama, that is, basic moral principles. Of course, Sadvipras, as Baba defined them, are more than just people who follow Jama and Niyama. They have to be D-class people. They have to be people who are excellent in all the spheres of life, whether it's Shudra, Kshatriya, Vipra, or Vaishya. We have to do all those things. So Sadvipras are not, in the way Baba defined the term, the Sadvipras are not the rulers of society. Baba said Sadvipras will reside in the nucleus of the society. It's in one of the principles of Prout. Sadvipas reside in the nucleus of society. What's the nucleus of society? It doesn't mean the capital of the country. It doesn't mean in the country's legislature or governing body. The nucleus of society is the ideology. It's the ideology that your society follows. And the Sadvipas reside in that. That is, they are established in that ideology, in their personal life, in their collective life, in their social life. In all aspects of life, Sadvipas have to be a walking example, a living, breathing example of the ideology that they propose. But as being in that position, Sadvipas can't really get involved in, as you might call it, the political life, even under Prout. In Prout, there'll be politics too, because there will be different opinions about how we will do things. But it won't be a discussion or a argument between the good thing to do and the bad thing to do. Because if we follow Prout and we follow the basic principles of Prout, there are many ways to do the right thing. And so there has to be a way that people can come to an agreement. Even within our own organization, we have to come to an agreement how to do things. There are many ways to do things. There's not only one way to do it. And Sadvipas, if the Sadvipas align themselves with one way to do things or another way to do things, they become tainted by the politics. Rather, the Sadvipas have to be established in the ideology and then guide the society based on that ideological establishment. So there's two really basic things that are really core to Prout. One is neo-humanism, and the other is the role of Sadvipas, but as a spiritual, from a spiritual point of view. Because I can't emphasize enough, and I just really understood this from Baba many times, that spirituality and neo-humanism are core to the whole Prout concept. That if you remove spirituality or neo-humanism from the concept of Prout, it doesn't work. It's impossible to work. You have to have people who are qualified to do these kind of things. And those people have to be qualified not because they got educated. Of course, they may be educated, but not because their education doesn't qualify them. It's their ideological establishment. How much do they have they established their life in their ideology? And in neo-humanism, there's also some very important aspects. The most important aspect of neo-humanism, at least from my point of view, is universalism. Because universalism is really an important point, because if you have a solution and it only applies to some people and not other people, you're not doing anything better than anybody else has done in the past. Universalism means that the solutions that Prout provides has to apply to everybody. Now, if you look around the world today, you see so many areas of conflicts. And one of the things you can notice in every area of conflict is that they're not following universalism. It's one group fighting against another group. And the one group thinks, well, if we win, then we'll be okay. And it's too bad for the other people. And if the other group wins, then they think we'll be okay, and too bad for the other people. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. But in Prout, everybody wins. How's that possible? And here's something I've recognized. If you study history and economics, I believe that on this planet Earth, we have entered for the first time in human history what I call a post-scarcity economy. I put the date sometime around the mid-1960s, maybe even around mid-50s, right around the time Baba originally gave the first principles of Prout. That is, post-scarcity economy means that we have developed the technology and we've developed the resources, natural resources and other types of resources, to provide for the basic necessities of everybody in the whole world. Let's just say from a theoretical point of view, if we could take all the resources of the entire world and we could distribute them equally. Of course, we don't support equal distribution, but let's just say from a theoretical point of view, let's say we could distribute all the resources of the world equally among every human being in the world. I believe that there's enough resources that nobody should have to go hungry. Nobody should have to go without the basic necessities of life. The scarcity we find in the world today is artificial scarcity. It's artificial because some group or individuals accumulate too much, and that leaves less for other people. But I think it's even more than that. We've gone beyond we've gone beyond just a post-scarcity economy. We've gone into an abundance area period where we not only can provide for the basic necessities of life for everybody, we can make everybody comfortable. And Prout is the first socioeconomic concept that accepts that principle, that nobody should have to go hungry. In all the other systems that have come before Prout, there's always been winners and losers. But in Prout, everybody can win. The problem is how to get it to happen. Well, if Prout is so good, why weren't not everybody doesn't follow it all already? And Baba gave the explanation of that in neo-humanism. In neo-humanism, there's some basic psychological tendencies that cause problems and divisions in our society. We have geosentiments and we have sociosentiments. And there is psychoeconomic exploitation. And these type of sentiments are, and Baba recognized these are just natural parts of human psychology. But there are ways to overcome those sentiments. And that's one of the things that, as Proutists, we have to work on. Because all of us, myself, all of you, we all have our geosentiments and our sociosentiments. And a lot of it happens because of where you were educated, type of education, where you grew up, what culture you follow, so many different things. You have certain sentiments. When those sentiments enter into economic life, they cause problems. And so we have to somehow keep those sentiments out of our economic life. If we have them, we should use them to unite our society, not divide. That is, if we have we need to recognize the geo-sentiments and socio-sentiments in our own mind and recognize that others have also those sentiments, and we should respect those sentiments of everybody. Because once we understand what those sentiments are, we can help fight exploitation. Because how does psychoeconomic exploitation happen? It happens because the people with power, economic and political power, they exploit those sentiments. They exploit the geo-sentiments. They exploit those socio-sentiments. And people say, somebody says, yes, I support that sentiment. And so they get dragged away in supporting something that actually is harmful for themselves. You know, there's a theory in politics that democracy is supposed to be good because people will vote for their own self-interest. Unfortunately, because people's sentiments are exploited and through psychoeconomic exploitation, people sometimes don't even know what their own self-interest is. And so they may even support things that actually goes against their own self-interest because their minds have been distorted by irrational thinking. So that's the other thing Baba gave in neo-humanism. We have to have rational thinking. We have to weigh the pros and cons of every question, and we have to make sure that every decision that we make promotes the general welfare. Rational thinking will help fight the defects in these sentiments. So, what do we have to do about Prout to become effective in our communities. The first thing we have to do is follow 16 points. What is 16 points? 16 points is self-discipline. 16 points is everything about our spiritual ideology. As I said before, Prout is out and out spiritual. It is based on a spiritual philosophy. It is based on having spiritually based sadvipas and ideologically based sadvipas, helping to move society forward. And Baba explained at one time that those people who follow 16 points, they're the real sadvipas. So we need to create in ourselves the ability to do the work that Baba asked of us by following the principles that Baba gave us. And that 16 points are really important. I'll tell you a little story. 1971, when I first went to India, right after I got personal contact, and Baba had just given 16 points only a few weeks before that. It was a brand new concept. And Baba called us into his office in groups of 10. And then one by one, while we're standing in front of Baba, Baba would ask us point by point from 16 points. Point number 1, are you following? Are you following? Are you following? And we would all have to answer Baba while he's sitting there behind his desk saying, yes, Baba, yes, Baba. And sometimes somebody would say, yes, Baba, and then Baba would look at them and say, no, I think you're not following that point. And then the person would say, oh, I'm sorry, Baba. See, Baba was so concerned about us that he was very concerned that we follow each and every point of 16 points. So following our spiritual practices and establishing ourselves in our ideology, what else we have to do? We need to get involved in our community. How can we propose to solve the problems of our community if we are not involved in our communities? We need to become members of our communities. And I've seen it here in the United States. I've seen it in other places. Margis sometimes tend to isolate themselves. We do our sadhana, we go to Dharma Chakra, we go to retreats, we go to seminars, we are involved in the Margi community, and then when it comes to the rest of the community, we're not involved. We think, well, those people, they're not following our practices, and so we feel uncomfortable. Well, we need to get comfortable. We need to become part of the communities that we live in if you expect those people in the community to be able to support the things that we support. So that's something that's really important. I think Prout should become more active in this society. Baba gave us a little hint of that in his last years. In the late 1980s, Baba gave some programs for that. But I think we can do a much better job of trying to become part of our communities so we can understand what the problems are and try to figure out how to apply Prout's solutions to those. Now, as I said before, I don't believe that Baba gave Prout to fix capitalism. So we may not be able to fix the problems that the capitalists have caused by advocating for changes within the capitalist structure. But we can point out those defects and show how it's impossible for them to fix them, the way the system is set up right now. So I'm running out of time here. I want to allow a little bit of time for summary and some questions. One of the things I wanted to mention about Prout, that is Proutist Universal. Proutist Universal is an ideological movement. Baba gave, that's why Prout is in the Ananda Sutra. It's part of our ideology. You can't have an Ananda Marga without Prout. I mean, there are people that are trying, but it can't be done. It's part of the Ananda Sutra. So Proutist Universal Baba gave Proutist Universal to promote that theory, the socioeconomic theory, and our ideology. Prout is not a political organization. So we have to be careful not to get Prout dragged into the politics of capitalism. Now, that's, I think, why Baba gave Samaj movements, because Samaj movements are not necessarily ideologically based. There are ways to get Proutists to become involved in their community and their issues without tainting the ideological movement, which is Prout. Prout is universal. And lastly, we need to learn more about Prout. You know, as I said before, one of the first things I said was how we found that Margies were supporting Prout when they didn't even know what is Prout. We need to learn what is Prout. We need to study Prout. We need to understand its applications. And for that, we need more study circles, and we need ways to communicate and discuss among ourselves so we have a better idea of what this is all about. So I thank you for your spending some time with me. And Rajendra, would you like to give a little summary of what I've talked about? And then I'll open it up for some questions. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Madhusudan da. It was a wonderful session. But yes, if I brief line by line, it will take a lot of time. So I'll give just a 2 minutes brief. First of all, Dada said that why Prout? So दादा ने बताया कि प्राउट की क्यों जरूरत है। आज ये महसूस किया जा रहा है कि कैपिटलिज्म जो है वो कुछ लोगों के लिए काम करता है, सबों के लिए काम नहीं करता, इसलिए प्राउट की आवश्यकता है। और दादा ने पहले अपने बारे में ब्रीफ किया कि दादा जो है, जैसा कि मैं पहले ही बता चुका, कि दादा 1971 में इनिशिएशन लिए थे और बाबा के साथ कई बार फील्ड वॉक में जा चुके हैं। विशेष करके एक फील्ड वॉक की उन्होंने चर्चा की जो यहाँ पे बोलना जरूरी है, जो कि कहीं लिखा नहीं मिलता है, कि बाबा जब इनके साथ एक बार कोलकाता में वॉकिंग पे गए तो देयर वाज अ स्मोक, पॉल्यूशन था। तो बोले व्हाट इज दिस, वी नीड टू फिक्स दिस ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ द कैपिटलिज्म, सो व्हाट इज द सोल्यूशन, सो यू हैव टू एस्टैब्लिश प्राउट को लाना पड़ेगा उसके सोल्यूशंस के लिए। तो इसके बाद दादा बोले कि नव्य मानवतावाद का जो दृष्टिकोण है, दैट इज द की, वही जो है मुख्य चीज है। जब तक मनुष्य का दृष्टिकोण नहीं बदलेगा, उसके मेन लहजे जैसे कि भाव प्रवणता, जिसको जियो सेंटिमेंट कहते हैं, सोशियो सेंटिमेंट जिसको चाहे बेसिकली रिलीजन का जो सेंटिमेंट है, और इस तरह से ह्यूमन, सो मेनी सेंटिमेंट्स। तो बाबा इसके लिए लास्ट में दादा ने बोला कि जो कैपिटलिज्म है, वो पूंजीवाद है, वो उसके लिए गरीबी की जरूरत है। दैट इज वाई आज पॉवर्टी इसलिए है कि कैपिटलिज्म को फलने फूलने के लिए गरीबों की जरूरत है, क्योंकि वो मैन पावर कहाँ से ले आएंगे, यहीं से व्यवस्था चरमराती है। और दूसरी बात इन्होंने बोला कि आज जितना भी पूरे विश्व में संपदा है, चाहे किसी भी तरह की संपदा हो, उसको यदि एक एक मनुष्य में बांटा जाए तो इसका कोई रीजन नहीं है कि वो हर व्यक्ति के पास बेसिक मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट्स आराम से न पहुंचे, एटलीस्ट कोई खाने बिना तो नहीं मरेगा, दैट इज श्योर ऑफ इट। इसी पे इन्होंने कहा कि गरीबी क्रिएटेड है, आर्टिफिशियल स्कैरसिटी जिसको बोलते हैं, प्राकृतिक अभाव का वातावरण बना करके और ऐसी व्यवस्था चल सकती है जो कि कैपिटलिज्म है। तो इसीलिए प्राउट का आना आवश्यक था, एंड दैट इज व्हाई प्राउट केम। लास्ट में जो दादा कहते हैं कि इनके लिए जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है कि आखिर एक ऐसे नेतृत्व की जरूरत है। तो वैसे नेतृत्व को बाबा ने जो बताए हैं कि सभी पर ही वैसे नेतृत्व हैं, तो उनके लिए क्या बनना है, तो दादा ने लास्ट में 4 पॉइंट्स बताया, जो कि मैं ब्रीफ करता हूं, लेस रेस्ट यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड, आप समझ सकते हैं कि हर व्यक्ति को पहली रिक्वायरमेंट है, जबकि बाबा कहते हैं ना कि फर्स्ट रिक्वायरमेंट यू हैव टू फॉलो, या नियम का पालन करोगे और कस के साधना करोगे, दैट इज एवरीथिंग इज लाइंग ऑन 16 पॉइंट्स। एक मनुष्य को आध्यात्मिक सिपाही बनना पड़ेगा और उसके लिए एक आदर्श व्यक्तित्व बनना पड़ेगा। उसके लिए इस धरा पर एक ही चीज परमात्मा ने दिया है, और वो है 16 पॉइंट्स, क्योंकि हम सब लोग फॉलो करेंगे तो ऐसे ही क्रांतिकारी लोग समाज में प्रभुत्व को ला सकते हैं। और जैसा कि मैंने नव्य मानवतावाद के बारे में दादा ने बताया, और दूसरी बात और बताया कि प्रभुत्व को अध्ययन करने की जरूरत है। हर व्यक्ति को प्रभुत्व को अध्ययन करना बहुत जरूरी है, टू अंडरस्टैंड ये है क्या। एक और जो मुख्य बात है, अक्सर देखा गया है कि हम लोग समाज से कट के रहते हैं, वी डोंट इन्वॉल्व इन सोसाइटी। तो ये बहुत बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट है कि जब तक हम समाज के छोटी छोटी समस्याओं में भी यदि हम नहीं जुड़े रहेंगे उनसे, और तो वो अपनापन नहीं होगा, और उनकी छोटी मोटी समस्याओं में ही हम सोल्यूशन उनको देंगे, और यदि प्रौत के आधार पे सोल्यूशन देंगे तो उनको लगेगा कि नहीं, ये तो कुछ अलग ही बात कह रहे हैं। और बिकॉज प्रौत एक यूनिवर्सल है, सबको एक्सेप्ट करते हुए है, तो उनको ये विचार अच्छे लगेंगे ही, बिकॉज आपके कॉन्सेप्ट किसी संकीर्णता से मुक्त हैं और ये यूनिवर्सल कॉन्सेप्ट हैं, इसलिए सबको ये अच्छा लगेगा। इसलिए इन्होंने इनका कहना था कि समाज में हम लोगों को लोकल लेवल पे हर समस्याओं में समाज के साथ कदम से कदम मिलाकर चलना पड़ेगा, और अपने अनुसार उनको सॉल्यूशंस उनके साथ भी देना पड़ेगा। मींस वी हैव टू इन्वॉल्व, हम लोगों को इन्वॉल्व करना पड़ेगा अपने आप को कम्युनिटी के साथ। और एक और बात इन्होंने कहा कि जहां तक इकोनॉमिक्स एंड पॉलिटिकल पावर की बात है, जो अर्थनैतिक और जो राजनीतिक पावर है, इन दोनों के मिल जाने से, ये जो मिली भगत है, उनकी वजह से समाज का शोषण हो रहा है, बिकॉज दे आर बिकमिंग मोर पावरफुल। तो इसमें लेकिन एक और बात इन्होंने जोड़ा जो कि बहुत प्रैक्टिकल है, कि यदि सडनली आप कैपिटलिज्म को खत्म करने जाएंगे, इट्स अ बिग क्वेश्चन। बट जहां पर डिफेक्ट है, जहां भी कैपिटलिज्म में डिफेक्ट है, एटलीस्ट वी कैन पॉइंट आउट। यदि हम उन बातों को लोगों के सामने रख सकते हैं कि नहीं, इसको ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करिए, इवन गवर्नमेंट की भी कोई पॉलिसी है, सो वी शुड से देम, वी शुड एडवाइज देम, सॉरी फिर मैं इंग्लिश बोल रहा हूं, तो उनको जो है हम अपना सजेशन दे सकते हैं कि आप इसको ऐसे नहीं ऐसे करने से ज्यादा अच्छा होगा। और यदि उनके समझ में नहीं आए तो आम आदमी के तो समझ में आ ही जाएगा। और जहां तक मेन बात है कि इकोनॉमिक प्रॉब्लम और इकोनॉमिक जो अर्थनैतिक जो शोषण है, इसका मुख्य जो कारण है वो है इरेशनल थिंकिंग। आई मीन जिसको कहते हैं अयुक्ति अयुक्ति आई मीन युक्ति रहित जो मानसिकता है, मतलब मनुष्य की जो मनोवैज्ञानिक जो सोच है, उसके अगेंस्ट जब मनुष्य सोचता है, इसीलिए वो थिंकिंग इरेशनल हो जाती है। जबकि हमारा जो सोच होना चाहिए वो विवेक सम्मत विचार रहने से हम इसमें इट विल बी वेरी इजी कि हम इसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर सके। तो ये मैं रफली कंक्लूड किया, आई कैनॉट से कि हम कंक्लूड किए इसको, बट यस टू हाँ, इन्होंने एक बात बहुत महत्वपूर्ण का बात कही कि सारी दुनिया ये जानती है, लेकिन पहली रिक्वायरमेंट है आखिर गरीबी जाएगी कैसे। ये जब तक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में नहीं रहेगा, जब तक हमारे संविधान में नहीं रहेगा, जैसे कि हमारा 9वां जो पहला ही श्लोक है प्रौत दर्शन का, प्रौत का जो प्रिंसिपल का, कि युगस्य सर्वनिम्न प्रयोजनम सर्वेसांग विधेयम। तो जब तक ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में नहीं रहेगा, जब तक संविधान में नहीं रहेगा, इसे दूर नहीं किया जा सकता है। और ये तो इस पे हम लोग प्रेशर डाल सकते हैं। उन्होंने एक और बात कहा कि समाज में हर व्यक्ति की प्रौत ही एक ऐसा विधान है जहां ये विधान है कि एक स्तर से नीचे किसी भी मनुष्य को आने नहीं दिया जाएगा। ये बहुत बड़ी बात इन्होंने कही। ये विधान आज तक किसी सिस्टम नहीं है। प्रौथ ही ऐसा कहता है कि 5 फंडामेंटल जो न्यूनतम आवश्यकता है वो सबों के लिए गारंटी होनी चाहिए। तो ये प्रौथ ये कोशिश करता है या बताता है अपने दर्शन के अनुसार कि एक पर्टिकुलर लेवल से नीचे किसी को नहीं रहने दिया जाएगा। ये बहुत बड़ी बात है जो प्रौथ कहता है। इसके बाद इन्होंने एक और बात छुई थी, टच किया था कि देश काल पात्र के अनुसार जो है चीजें यानी कि पॉलिसीज बदलती रहेंगी। जैसा कि बाबा ने भी कहा है कि प्रिंसिपल्स जो हमारे सिद्धांत है वो तो वैसे ही रहेंगे, लेकिन समाज की आवश्यकता के अनुसार, जैसे यूरोपियन की आवश्यकता है, भारतीयों की आवश्यकता है, अलग अलग जगह की जो आवश्यकता है उनके अनुसार पॉलिसीज चेंज होती रहेंगी। लेकिन उसका उद्देश्य है कि हम जो अपना प्रिंसिपल है, जो हमारा सिद्धांत है, उसको लागू करना। सो दिस वाज अ ब्रीफ। और मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा दैट यदि किन्हीं का कोई प्रश्न है सो आप कर सकते हैं। थैंक यू वेरी मच। I think
Okay.
some questions are there. Let me see in the chat box if it can help. Dada, you can see if there is something in your chat box worth question. Yeah, there are.
Yeah, दादा मार्गी नाम से कोई someone is there and she raised hand, so you can
Okay,
take.
okay. So yes, yes, Margi, you can ask your question. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Okay, thank you. This was a wonderful class. The first thing is Dada said that the first thing to know Prout and follow it in our life is to follow strictly 16 points, right? So, my viewpoint towards Prout is that it is nothing which is given only for Anandamargis. I feel that. Uh, Secondly, so uh, I would also like to know how are we achieving it? I mean, apart from the theory, what are we doing it? Because I am not able to find any action which is going on currently. We are discussing theory. I've been attending many classes, but actually, how are we doing it in action? You said then in the last thing, which it has to be included in the constitution. Yes, that's possible. That's possible. And for that, it's not necessary that Anand Margi has to join a politics. As you said, it has to be different from politics. So, can't we include such individuals, those who are already in politics and want to bring change? Because this is highly unlikely that out of 100, even if there is 0.001% of leaders who are exposed to this theory, they might bring change and it will affect the common people. So I really don't find any action being taken. I'm very young, I don't understand anything, but I don't understand that why are we only talking? Why are we not doing anything?
I'd like to respond to that. Thank you very much for your question. Um, First of all, we have to understand Prout. And I'm not sure, even after all these years, we really understand Prout very well. It's a very long process. One of the reasons that 16 points are important is because Prout is, although it's for everyone, there has to be spiritually oriented people in the important leadership roles in our society. You don't get into those leadership roles by just walking in. It takes time. Society, and I'm the first person to tell you that I don't think society is ready for Prout. We have to make them ready. Now, occasionally I've seen instances where you can see people are starting. There's talk, even in the United States, there's talk about, well, we shouldn't just analyze the candidates who are running for office based on their policies and their issues. We should understand their character. As one politician once told me, you can change your policies anytime, but you can't change your character. So if somebody's running for office, you should be sure that person has good character, because a person of good character will usually find a way to make good decisions. I'll give you my own example. I actually ran for public office here in my town. I ran for county commission a few years ago. I didn't win, but I ran because I was trying to get some ideas into the community. But here's one thing that happened. There was a candidate forum. Many people attended, and when I spoke, I talked about the fact that we should recognize the basic necessities of life: food, clothing, education, medicine, and shelter, as basic human rights. I use the term human rights. And I said, this should be the guiding point of our community, how we organize our community, that these things are basic human rights and nobody should be denied access to them. Well, my member of Congress for my community was in attendance that day. And a year or so later after that, I noticed that she filed and in the United States Congress a proposed constitutional amendment to recognize those basic necessities of life as human rights. Now, it didn't pass because, no, of course, the capitalists are never going to do that. But that getting those ideas into the community means that people are starting to recognize that. And so that's what our ideological movement is. Our ideological movement is to spread the ideas in the community so that the community starts to recognize that this is the way to solve the problem, not through the way that the capitalists are trying to do it, which is never going to solve the problem. So the work we have to do, from as Prout as Universal, is to really spread the ideas of Prout in the community. And every community is different. So, and Baba gave different kinds of movements that you can do to um, to try to spread our ideas in the community. But it's really something you have to do. It's not, we have, Baba didn't give us the details because every place is different. And so that, in fact, one of the things that the first thing Baba did in Prout was establish Universal Proutist Student Federation, because the students have issues and are very receptive to these kinds of ideas. And so if we promote these ideas among the students and then deal with students, the issues that students have, particularly regarding the unaffordability and inequality of education, those are things that we can get some traction on. So it's a lot of work, and so there's really no real one answer for all of that, but but I appreciate the comment. Any other
Sir,
questions?
can I?
Please hold on. You can contact me separately, Margi, Didi, and we will discuss. Let us give others also chance because we are in a training camp and the time we are almost over. So let us take one more question. Please bear with me. We have a limitation. Here we are in a program. Yes, Bharti Raj Didi, you can speak.
Thank you, Dada. Namaskar to everyone. Namaskar, Madhusudan Dada. Dada, one question is, suppose we are like 200 people, all Proutist, all following 16-point spiritual people, have the capability of leadership. In now, what will be the steps to implement Prout in governance? I mean, I'm asking question in future.
Well, first thing is we can't implement Prout. Well, I mean, even when Baba was here, he was advocating and encouraging Proutists and Margis to run for public office. We're not going to change capitalism. Well, I mean, it's possible. Baba said that, Prout is an intellectual revolution. So we're trying to create the revolution in the intellectual sphere. How that happens on the economic and social sphere depends on the type of psychology of the people and the psychology of the leaders. And my feeling is that we should try to bring about change in a peaceful way, in such a way that will enhance the transition and the development of the economy. And for that, you need to get involved. Run for public office, get involved in the community. Proutists need to become leaders in their community. I've been involved in my community. I'm recognized as one of the leaders in my community. Almost all the elected officials know who I am and listen to me when I have comments to make. So, but that takes years and years of work. But one of the things I remember, one of the first things I read about that Baba commented about Prout many years ago, Baba wrote in one article, he said, you should be careful to popularize the defects of capitalism. Because if the capitalists are alerted to their defects, they will fix those defects. And the capitalists are very clever. They won't permanently fix the defects. They will have a temporary fix. And what that will do will just delay the demise of capitalism. So now that's a strategic issue. Do you want to help fix capitalism, or do you want to? Well, I don't believe it's the purpose of Prout is to go out into the street and demand the downfall of capitalism. I don't think that's what Baba wanted us to do. I don't think In fact, there's some Margies in the United States that were like that. They used to be called the doom and gloom Margies, saying everything's going to end, capitalism is going to collapse. We don't want to be the doom and gloom Margies. We want to talk about how can we make a better society that's better for everyone, not just for a few people. If you preach doom and gloom, nobody's going to listen to you. I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes, Dada. Thank you. Thank you, Dada.
Thank you, everyone. I think हम लोगों को ये बंद कर देना चाहिए because our next program of collective meditation is to start. So thank you very much for joining, and we are in UTC, Utilization Training Camp. Thank you, Dada, for your kind acceptance of the class and your ideas. It was very wonderful, and hope we all must have enjoyed, and we learned many points from it. So thank you very much. Thank you again. So with your
Thank you.
permission, I'm going to close this session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, again. Thank you so much.